Hello and welcome. It is the 4th day of August 2019. It is a Sunday. This is the Money Charts channel. Like always, all bets, trades, and of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. Taking a look at Bitcoin against the US fiat dollar on the 4 minute time frame. Near 11,000 at 10,966 at the Big Stamp Exchange. And that's the 11:44 a.m. Eastern time. It got going a little after 9:52 a.m. and of course the volatility now higher as it was before. Even the Bitstamp 1 minute or 4 minute chart looks pretty reasonable. Where short term, it's not really that good of a chart. But I'm not focusing too much on the short term as far as like 5 minutes, 1 minute, 15-minute type of charts. Let's go on the hour, which is only four times higher than the 15, but the level of resistance in here, which has been quite large because of how much it was tested. It's several times in and around the high 10,800 level. It got there yesterday midnight or at the start of the Saturday session, Friday midnight, I guess you could say. It had a little small breakdown, a failed breakdown that is, which occurred in here. Let me just, you can see it. You know what I'm talking about, but breaking down below this level of support. And it hung in there at this level, so you can say, oh, it was looking bearish, especially as it was playing out within the 18 average of lows. And okay, it had a bearish setup, maybe, but it didn't go through. It didn't break or even come close to testing this level of support at 10,570. And then, of course, we've been able to take it out. We're obviously at levels not seen in quite some time. We'd have to use the other time frames to see it. The 3 hour is not going to tell us, but we can see that we're at levels not seen since before July the 21st, and we've given back pretty much this entire sell-off. I could probably scroll back and see, okay, levels not seen since July 20th. We're at this previous high, a retest of a previous level. When we look at this on the 8 hour, it's just been going straight up for several periods in a row, close to correcting on the 18 lows in here. But regardless of how you look at it, from this period, we had three sideways moving periods, barely taking out the high, thus establishing this resistance it did on August the 2nd. At least on this 20-hour timestamp, it got a little bit higher, but pretty much the same highs, and it came down as low as this level of resistance, but it's now breaking out above it. It's barely broken out above it. So I would have to think that since we've already been testing this level, it's not like we're having a test. It's not like this is a new test. We're looking to surpass the test of breaking this entire congestion area. And when we look at this on the daily chart, we had price action before this showing bearish setups because we had a beautiful up run. And like I've been saying with these markets in a bull market, the trend is bullish. So sell offs guilty until proven innocent. And it tried to prove it innocent here, and breaking down below support may have done it, but that never did happen. However, it was one, two, three, four, especially on this one, and then the three after that for 7 periods, showing okay, it looks like we're going to break down in here, and then that didn't happen. Instead, we had a move that got up to the 18 average of highs. It had a little bit of a pullback inside the 18 on the first day of August, but closed above it. Nice little bullish pause day for the most part. Up day yesterday, and the continuation, of course, in play as we're seeing it have the shorter term breakout. Okay, well that's again another attempt to resume this bull market, and it failed the last time it attempted to do so, which would have been in here. But it wasn't that much of an attempt given that it was only above it for a couple of days. It's been consistently staying above these areas, and when it does that, I want to see the 18, especially the 18 highs immediately. If it's going to be a sell off, and the 18 lows collectively through time to be support as just that, to be key support areas within it. You're always going to establish resistance, and then, of course, in a bull market, eventually take them out. But it's still in the sideways consolidation in here. It's the getting to the middle part of this range more than anything. And now it's like, okay, if you're waiting for a break, either to get above here or below here, you got a long ways to go in either direction now because of a break of around not even 9,200 from about 11,000. That's about 1,800 off. That's well over 16, 17%. But to get to 13,000 high is almost 3,000 basis points. And that's like almost 30%. That's even a bigger move. But yeah, and these moves can happen fast at any time. So we look at the size of the volatility that we're going through right now, it's really not there. It's kind of lackluster. And it can go higher at any given time, and we can see the size of these. And if it breaks out, it wouldn't surprise me if we did have one day where it goes up like 2,000 or 1,800, close to 20% in one day. That's definitely a possibility now. Of course, the big bull market setups on the weekly time frame, we see this getting above it. It really does need to get above this established resistance in here at the high 13 mid to high 13,000. Doing so, that's what we might not be talking about 20% moves. We could be talking about 30, 40, 50% moves, at least on the weekly. And well, yeah, we'll see what happens. But if it gets above it, and that's what it's doing right now, is the excitation for, then it's all looking good. Last month was a pause month after this successful first two small volatile candles up, then three very good ones. And from that, it only gave back a portion of its last upward movement. In fact, it didn't even go down below its open for the month of June. So July paused it. August, you could say so, same thing. But like I've stated, as long as we're in that range, it's just going to be pausing within this as well. So that's going to be like, and if it keeps on doing it, well, it will meet up within the 18. And I'm fine with that as well, as that would just validate officially, if you kind of deem such, for it to be in a correctionary mode, using, of course, the front weighted 18 average of highs and lows. But back to the daily, and we're going to go short term again. There's pretty much a trend line here. I'm going to see how good this is when I look at it on the 3. And not so good. So I'm thinking the best way of me doing this would be to push the print screen button and then use the MS Paint to do it. And amongst such, let's see what we can come up with for a trend line. Yeah, this would be it right here. If it can get above this trend line, and then that's when you can watch out for. Well, I mean, oftentimes you're going to get an explosive move, something like this, and then pull back as well. But it's, throwing that aside, and I've shown it before, like the one on the daily chart back in the spring of 2017, around May, I think, ish, of 2017, it broke a trend line, and of course, Bitcoin flew after that. So if it does something like that again, I mean, this is a 3-hour time frame where it looks good, so it's not as strong as what it looked like in 2017, but still, nonetheless, it's something to look at. Right now, as it stands, is in between 11.2 and 11.6. So currently for today, we're looking at a break at about 11,400, 500, but this will continue to rise within time. And something I like to do too, whenever I draw trend lines in an up or down trend move like this on Paint, is I'll draw that line over again and make it exactly the same rate of ascent. I mean, that's not the same, and that's close enough. Now I can take my mouse and just move it. So where would I want to put it for support? You would have to think originally you had this move and it broke down below it. So what you'd be having in a situation like this is the possibility of the failed breakout down of a trend line like this. And if you have a trend line, a decent rate of ascent of what we're looking at, and then you have this in here, so it breaks it to the downside, which is stating not necessarily that it's going to go down, but rather it's going to stop going up. So yeah, either go down or go sideways. But it doesn't even look like it wants to do the latter that I stated and go sideways for. If it's able to get above this resistance in here that it's marginally above right now, then we start talking about making a move of decent proportions, and then breaking out above this trend line, and the decent proportions become magnificent ones. Bitcoin dominance still 68 and change, at least according calculated by TradingView, and very close to this previous resistance of July 15th and the 16th. And my view is that it could keep on going up to whichever levels, but I have always said for markets, they go up and they go down, which means when this is finished going up, it's probably going to go down. So you have up, goes up to this 77 back in July, it goes down. Then we go up here and down and up and down and up and down and up and down in here, tops and bottoms known after the fact. So on a more shorter term, it went up and down again. But whatever this top is going to be is where it's going to be, and then it's going to go down after that. How far and from where and all those questions, that'll be determined with time. Let's cross over now to some altcoins against Bitcoin. First off, LTC, which had an interesting move in here where it went up really fast. And it obviously was a failed breakout, but a lot of this decline, of course, because of the altcoin, because of the Bitcoin going higher. Whereas on the dollar side, this rally has been holding in there so far. So it's not participating at the time of Bitcoin within its breakout. It had its a little bit earlier. As far as Bitcoin Cash against the dollar, actually, I'm gonna show more Litecoin because I didn't even show much of its other time frame. So I'm gonna go Bitcoin Cash back to Litecoin. And amongst this, on the 4 minute time frame, it's having a breakout. On the single hour, it's been stuck within this 18 for most of the morning. After, of course, having this last low in here at the 328 mark, now at 336. Its last big move is the so far held because I always say it's got to hold this area where what came from, which is in the general area between 335 down to about 330. And that's exactly where this low area came in at so far. So it's held it so thus far. And if this fails, especially because we had a rally attempt here, come back down, and then a second rally attempt that does get above the 18. If this doesn't work out and we come back down to about 329, then the probability odds that it holds, or the probability odds we have resistance maybe at 3 1/3, become higher, and so on and so forth. But getting out above here, like I'm going to want to see this area hold on the short term on any further moves, but really get above further. And is there any signs of this right now? You know what? Maybe. But the daily term, I do like this setup on how for the last 5 days it's been holding amongst the 18 average of highs and such. Whereas on the daily time frame here it was holding above the 18. Now it pulled back and back down to the 18 lows. Single hour term, well, going down in here, and 4 minute term, like I said, we're all falling against the Bitcoin because Bitcoin's dominance right now. And as we scroll back to Litecoin, and the dominance that I talk about, it's like I state, markets go up, markets go down. There's going to be a time where Litecoin dominates and Bitcoin Cash dominates, and most likely even all the altcoins generally over a whatever X period, like 6 weeks or 9 weeks or 3 weeks or however long or short it may be. And when they dominate, it becomes a much different story. And of course, a different story is its bigger volatility. Thus, you can start to see like 30, 40, 50% gains as child's play compared to 100 and like 120% like weeks as far as top place. 8 hour chart for Litecoin, almost every single one of these red candles down. And that's from this 987 area at 850. And this thing has been getting its ass kicked from this last high at the 18 handle. When we look at this, let's just even put this on the 3 day chart like this. Yet when we look at this against the US dollar, a different look. It's got weakness right now amongst the 18. It's been now a triple a days just hanging in there. That's 6 within it. So the more it does it, the more it becomes showing weakness at the 18 lows to just being in a sideways range. And that's neutral. But as far as on the daily chart, we can see, okay, little bit of possibility because we had this high back in June of around 140. It fell down to about 75. Now it's been consolidating upwards to about 100, but down to as low as the high 80s, $88, and even as low as 85 for a single day, and for periods of that day as well. And now we had this move a few days ago on the 31st of July that got the price barely above the 18 highs. And then a pause day where it supported it. It really didn't resist anywhere near higher, much higher. And now a little bit of corrections came down the 18 average of lows, which is barely starting to rise. So a must hold area. But getting above it, okay, yeah, this thing could, like I mentioned, if the altcoins go up on its moves, you could be seeing like 30-40% days at any given time. And I'm not in the business where I'm putting my financial stake and trying to put my money on the line and try to predict, oh, it's going to be now. And then I'll get paid off when I'm right and I'll pay when I'm wrong. Instead, when it happens, I'll be there to act to the situation and trade accordingly. And I'll get paid or lose when I'm right or wrong for the end game, of course. And that is that cryptocurrencies basically work out, and then the altcoins that at least I am trading work out well enough to give me gains. And I'm looking for, of course, decent sized gains, not only because of having coins that I think will do well in the long term. Long term is several hundred days, but ones that, of course, I can just flip back and forth for gains that way as well. All right, then let's finish this off within the precious metals. And they don't trade on the weekends. It's going to be a matter of time, I think, before they will. I mean, I think it's not. I'd be a prediction I would make that in 10 years from now they would trade on the weekends or 24/7. But we'll see. As far as now, we close Friday with a nice little pause hold day from this amazing up day, making lows not seen since the 17th of July. And that looks like, no, that doesn't look like 17th, because I expect, looking at cryptos of 7 days a week. I mean, I don't. There should be more candles after this, but you have 18, 19, 22. Oh no, 20 and 21. Nope. Just like the last one being August 2nd, no third and fourth. Although I don't know. No, it will be a fifth, because at 8 o'clock I think this thing would start trading. Maybe seven. Either way, within this, because there's a holding on this after multiple hits within this. So holding in this 14 and a quarter level would be, it keeps it very, very strong. But I'm most focused on the monthly chart and how it's gotten above this level of resistance. It's well above it. It's holding nicely above it as well. The last time I seen a market get well above it and hold and correct well above it was Bitcoin after its April breakout. So it's doing a lot of those similar sort of patterns there. As I stated before in a break, I'm fully expecting a break above the 1522 and a half, and of course I still am, because it's looking like it's in full mode gear doing what it's supposed to do. And silver obviously not moving as well, 1618 or 1619 on the rounding, barely above the 18 average of highs on the monthly. On the 3 day, having a little bit of a correctionary mode back, as we can see, with three red candles down, which fluctuates on the daily to more of the sideways range, with resistance at about 16 and 2/3. Support coming in at about 16 and a nickel. And as we move on, we're still in correctionary mode, 2 days in a row supporting the 18 average of lows. And because of that, the rate of ascent is going to go up a much lower rate. We can see that as well. Thus, the weakening of it. But it's got a long ways to go, like 1 day or 2 days of staying within it for the band to flatten out. So I guess it doesn't got a long ways to go. And yeah, so there's not much more to go over on that for the metals. We'll wait till see what happens when we open up tonight, and how they move through the week, as well as cryptos. Talk to you later. Bye bye.